by way of affecting Sodexo's bottom line. In the end, the main thing, probably the only thing that these corporations care about is the money, is the profit that they're getting from their practices, from their business with our universities. And it's not until you affect that bottom line that they will ever open up their eyes and ears to what's actually going on. So what students right now are saying is, not just like this needs to change, that needs to change. If it's not going to change, these contracts need to go. It's like the students were saying earlier, this type of corporation should not have our business. A human rights violator should not be doing business at Emory, at Tulane, at Ohio State University. So essentially it's end this contract. And it's not until you do that they're really going to listen up. And the reason we know that is because USAS has done this before. So how many of you have heard of a campaign against Nike last year? Sweet. All right. So Nike, similar to Sodexo, also has contracts with our universities. So universities such as the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Huge school. In this case, USAS was campaigning in solidarity with workers in Honduras, who were sewing collegiate apparel. So essentially what happened was 2 factories in Honduras were shut down. Thousands of workers were laid off and weren't paid nearly $2 million in severance pay that they were legally owed when the factory shut down. USAS got wind of what was going on. Again, we have these huge contracts with corporations, in this case such as Nike, and students started putting the pressure again on their university to end these contracts. At the same time, workers were putting the pressure on Nike to pay that legally owed severance pay. And essentially what happened was the University of Wisconsin-Madison was the first university to end a contract with Nike. Nike is huge. Nike has a lot of money, and I mean, believe me that they were fighting back. So University of Wisconsin ended this contract. Not only that, Cornell University only threatened to cut their contract, so that was almost going to be 2 down, and Nike, when they got wind of that, paid up to the workers in Honduras. Major victory against a major apparel giant. And it was from that victory that we know that this is what's going to bring about victories for our campus workers, victories for the student worker movement. Not just in the U.S., but abroad. And this campaign in particular has been going on for over a year. It's gotten to the point even at Emory where students have had dozens of meetings with administrators trying to address this, presenting what the solution is, not just this code of conduct, but knowing full well like when this company is going to listen. It's going to listen when the contract is cut. And students here in particular have had enough. Students across the U.S. have had enough. Workers have had enough, and we need an end to this abuse by the end of this school year here at Emory. Students are saying by April 20th. They have gone into meetings hoping for a good, positive response, haven't really gotten much, and have set a date for change to happen. Not just at Emory, but again, change for workers, Sodexo workers everywhere. So I would say be on the lookout for students who are campaigning in solidarity with workers here, in solidarity with workers across the world, around April 20th, especially here. So without further ado, we'll be hearing from the workers, and thank you.
Woo! Para mí es un placer estar con ustedes. Yo soy Karina Mieses de República Dominicana.
It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. My name is Karina Mieses, and I'm from the Dominican Republic.
Yo fui trabajadora de Sodexo por 1 año y 2 meses.
I was a worker for Sodexo for a year and 2 months.
Yo fui despedida por reclamos de mis derechos como trabajadora.
I was fired for defending my rights as a worker.
Yo voy a compartir con ustedes las condiciones que se viven trabajando en esa compañía y mi experiencia personal.
And I'm going to share with you today the conditions under that company where I worked and some of my own personal experiences.
Lo primordial en Sodexo, una de las primeras condiciones es el sueldo, que es muy bajo, ya que no da para sostener una familia y a pesar de que tenemos ese sueldo tan bajo, o sea, no llega a ser sueldo mínimo de por lo menos de mi país. Sodexo es una compañía multimillonaria que vas a diferentes países a pagar sueldo totalmente miserable, que no dan para sostener una familia.
And one of the things that affected us the most in the Sodexo were the poverty wages that we were being paid. It's not enough to support a family. In my country, we weren't even being paid the legal minimum wage. And this is $1 million corporation that has refused to pay us this.
Yo trabajaba de 4 de la mañana a 1:30 de la tarde. Nunca recibí hora extra. La trabajaba y nunca me pagaron hora extra. Tampoco me pagaban horas nocturnas.
And my shift was from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. I frequently would work extra hours for which I never saw pay for, and sometimes wouldn't even get paid for hours that I would work at night.
Una de las cosas también que existen trabajando en la compañía ya en República Dominicana es el abuso físico y verbal. Cuando yo me refiero a abuso físico y verbal, me refiero cuando nos ponen a trabajar mucho tiempo y se burlan de nosotros los supervisores prácticamente. También tenemos agresiones. Yo personalmente he recibido agresiones de algunos supervisores.
And not only that, but there was frequent physical and verbal abuse at my Sodexo location. Oftentimes they would make us work double, and managers and supervisors frequently made fun of us while we were working.
También existe lo que es la intimidación, no respetan el derecho sindical. Esa fue una de las razones por la cual a mí me despidieron, porque yo estaba en el proceso de unirme con mis compañeros y formar un sindicato por las condiciones que se viven en la compañía.
And one of the really serious conditions is also the worker intimidation that many of us face. They don't respect our right to stay united, our right to organize, and it's the reason that I was fired. I was in the process of helping myself and some of my coworkers organize a union, but many of us were being intimidated and I was fired.
Le puedo también mencionar algunos de los ejemplos de compañeras y compañeros que han tenido accidentes, que han sido agredidos, que por lo menos una compañera llamada Severina Sánchez, ella está incapacitada, ya no puede trabajar más, pero tiene que continuar yendo a la compañía, haciendo lo que no debe de hacer, ya que el médico le dice que no puede seguir trabajando, porque tampoco Sodexo es una compañía que no paga tampoco el certificado médico, no respeta el descanso médico. Entonces, a pesar de sus condiciones, ella tiene que continuar el trabajo.
And I can also provide some examples of serious accidents that have actually happened at my Sodexo location. For example, my coworker, Severina Sanchez, who was found by a doctor to be disabled after an accident on the job, should not be working the type of workload that she has under Sodexo, but it doesn't matter to them. And she has to continue to keep that job. She can't not have, a wage coming in. But there's also times where she has to undergo treatment, and Sodexo just doesn't respect your rights, especially when you're ill.
También le puedo decir de otra compañera que se desmayó en el proceso de trabajo delante de los clientes cuando estábamos sirviendo. Yo era camarera, ese era el trabajo que hacía, también hacía el de limpieza y otras cosas más. Ella se desmayó delante de los clientes por el hambre, porque tampoco no teníamos tiempo ni para comer, y aparte de que no teníamos tiempo, la comida tampoco daba para nosotros, porque había veces que teníamos que comer lo que quedaba, que iba para la basura, y prácticamente nos quedábamos sin comer porque nosotros no somos animales.
And another example is my coworker who actually fainted on the job because she hadn't been given time to even just take a break to eat. I worked in the kitchen, saw this a lot. There were many times where, with many of us, we were forced to work our entire shift without breaks to even just eat some food. And even the food that they would decide to offer us was food that was headed to the trash. It was rotten food that we couldn't eat. We're not animals.
Yo quiero también explicarles sobre el accidente que yo tuve, que me fracturé mi tobillo. Duré un año y 2 meses pidiéndole que por favor me dieran los zapatos adecuados, porque allá en la mina uno no puede usar unos tenis o unos zapatos normales, uno tiene que tener unas botas especial para trabajar en la mina. y nunca me dieron ese zapato y tuve una lesión en mi tobillo, duré 21 días.